So the one recurring criticism that you've heard longer than I have, and I've heard it for a long time, is the constant in this equation is the general manager. The general manager happens to be the owner, Jerry Jones. I'm under the impression that the GM really is probably more Will McClay, but Cowboys are privately owned and they run things how they're going to run it. Jerry's not going to give up that title, and ultimately he is the final say, and he likes to say that. He likes to say, "Oh, I'm just a steward of the franchise. I just have the keys, but I'm also the final say." I'm like, dude, you can't have it both ways. Clarence, is Jerry the problem?
We've been talking about this for a long time about Jerry being the problem, and Jerry is the GM, and Jerry won't change. And I just don't know. Globally, Jerry's the problem. I think that too many times the main thing is not the main thing. It's always about marketing. He got this Netflix show. He's a lot of things out there on the periphery that shouldn't be about. It's not about winning. Okay. So that's my issue with Jerry. There's too much stuff out there that ain't about winning. It's about marketing and all this other stuff. Okay?
Revenue. It's about revenue.
That's the problem. But as far as the football team is concerned, Jerry's giving Mike everything he wanted. He's giving most coaches everything they want.
Right.
Jerry's not standing in the way from football success. Nothing Jerry does. It's a bad look sometimes, to be worried about. Like I think this Jimmy Johnson thing was all about the Netflix documentary. I think that's part of the motivation. I mean, you got all
totally agree.
Jimmy going to the locker room and doing all these different things that don't need to be about the team, but as far as the football team, preparing the team and all the other stuff, he's not gotten in the way of that. Those he does not necessarily pick the players and say, Mike, you have to pick this guy, Mike, you have to play this guy, or something like that. Now they do make decisions financially, and that's a collective thing with Steven and Will and all those other guys. But I can't say Jerry's the reason why they haven't gotten to the Super Bowl since 1995. I would say Jerry's the only constant. So, so what came first, the chicken and egg? I don't know, but he's the only constant.
Nope, and you hit the nail on the head. Globally, from 35,000 feet, Jerry's the problem. When you get down on the floor and you see it, he's a contributing factor, but to insinuate that he's the only problem, no. When I looked at this team in the last however many years, let's say 10, I can think of maybe 5 instances where I thought Jerry said, no, we're doing this. And he overruled everybody in the building. When they signed Greg Hardy, nobody wanted to sign Greg Hardy. He wanted to sign Greg Hardy. Randy Gregory, I don't think anybody wanted to draft Randy Gregory. He wanted to draft Randy Gregory. Maybe Jalen Smith, maybe, because despite his wealth, he loves a deal more than anybody else. And certainly this Trey Lance thing was Jerry written all over it, which, he did it because he thought he'd get a deal and pull one over on people. Other than that, Clarence, I can't see many instances where I thought that is just Jerry doing what Jerry wants to do. And really those moves, the Greg Hardy one was a disaster. The other ones, they really weren't that bad.
No, I mean, and again, the big one when they overruled Jerry on Johnny Manziel. So there's some checks and balances there. But again, this at the end of the day, his biggest mistake was who he hired as head coach. And again, you look at all these other teams, and let's look at what Green Bay has done, look what Cleveland's done. They get these young guys, okay? They're not going to get a guy, I want a guy who's done it before, who's won before, but they're getting these young guys with some creative ideas, just like you see and as we talk about what they're going to do going forward, and you got the Detroit coach, you got the Houston coach, young guys with creative ideas who are doing different things, not going with a recycle coach, maybe like a Bill Belichick, who's older, who's won it before, but recycled again. But you look at some of these young franchises, Cincinnati, in the Rams, in Green Bay, they're winning and moving forward and taking steps up with young, up-and-coming coaches with new ideas who do different things, creative ideas. And so maybe that's part of it because he's the one who went with an old guy, with an old archaic system, even though it worked in the regular season, it did not work in the playoffs.
Well,